Welcome back to the Real Revenue Show, where we discuss real business concepts that'll help you build and scale any business model. We're your hosts. I'm Malcom Bowser. This is Andre Trust, and we're back with you guys for another amazing conversation. How are you, Dre?
Andre, I'm good, brother. I can't complain, man. I'm good. I'm feeling good.
Cool. How was your week, like in your businesses?
I actually just took some time off, bro. It was just, I think I need to get better at that.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm focusing on now is just taking more time off. So like even this week coming up, I got it set where I'm going to be into the office at 6 a.m. and then I'm out by 3 p.m. and you just can't get a hold of me until the following day, because I'm trying to get better at just understanding that my systems do work. Mm-hmm. And because they work, I've earned my time back. So I might as well actually use that time, which has been making me, I've been coming into the office even more aggressive and even more energetic because I've been taking more time off.
Understood.
So I think it's actually been working pretty positively.
Dope. I definitely understood that. Last week, we made a lot of headway. We got some new equipment into the office, got some desktop computers.
Oh, yeah. You fancy with those Macs.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that's cool. And we went through like our analytics regarding our channel and the growth, and it's growing it's not super fast, but it's growing way faster than it has been in the last, I'd say, 2 years. To be honest with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like some of the things that we've implemented are showing to be working. It's not about like how fast the growth is happening, but how steady it's happening. And for me, always knowing our numbers, it's happening faster. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So is it becoming, so you mentioned steady, is it becoming more predictable? Like you feel like you could forecast and actually like picture out what the next 12 months could look like?
For the most part, especially on YouTube, especially our growth on YouTube, because when we first started our channel, we were doing maybe a video a week, right? And then, we started a podcast, so it was maybe 2 videos a week. And then we stopped the extra other interviews. We just started doing, we were only doing like just straight podcast episodes every Thursday. So that was only 4 videos a month, right? Yeah. Then during the pandemic, I want to say at the height of the pandemic in May, I would say we started doing 2 shows a week. So that's only 8 shows a month. And there were a couple of glimpses here when we would add a couple of clips from each show. And maybe the output was maybe 10 videos a month. If that was the height. But most of the time we stood at 8 videos a month.
Okay.
But now we're doing a video a day. So that's been exactly.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game.
Exactly. That trips up the algorithms in different ways to where we're seeing a lot more growth, a lot more people coming in to subscribe, a lot more people just watching the actual show, and we're getting a lot more engagement on all of our platforms and social media included. So
okay, gotcha. So when I'm getting ready to start in 2022, I'm gonna start scaling my online presence as well. So I'm gonna have to be under you in that sense. I need all the help I can get.
We got you. No worries. So today's conversation, we wanted to talk about mentorship and vetting mentors and coaches and things like that, because I think I feel like that's a piece of the puzzle a lot of people are missing is great mentorship, but some people don't know where to start. And some people have been burned by bad mentors as well. And some people are just kind of intimidated by that process altogether. Like I remember you saying in one of our earlier episodes that like, you want to help somebody, and a lot of people in your position want to help. But there's people who are just starting out who feel like maybe, are intimidated. Like, who is this guy, or who am I to ask this guy for his time or his, his help? And they don't know how to go about it. So how have your experiences been with mentors? And let's start there.
Okay. I'll start off by saying, man, I think mentorship is the greatest thing ever created. And I say that from a standpoint, I have several mentors. Like anybody that gets to know me for any period of time will understand that I speak very highly of my mentors. I talk about them pretty frequently, the impact that they've had on my life, the change in how I view things, the change in my personality, the change in how I view just anything has really come from my mentor. So I think it's been extremely positive. Mm-hmm. And I'm also in one of those predicaments where I highly recommend it to anybody that the first thing that they should be doing is going to seek out a mentor. I often hear people, I'm not ready. I don't think I'm in a predicament. But even if you break down what mentorship is, right? Mentorship is the act or guidance of guiding somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. That's like the overarching.
Right.
So if you know what you're doing, then technically you don't need a mentor. So the time to go seek a mentor is actually when you don't know what you're doing and actually when you're lost as hell.
Right.
Because that's the role. So before we even jump in, I kind of want to define the differences.
Okay.
Right. Because, so I have several mentors and I have several business coaches.
Okay.
Right. And the reason that it's important is because a coach is like a day-to-day, the way that I like to think about it. Right.
Okay.
Mentorship is guiding the ship in a specific direction. Hey, Andre, hey, Malcolm, I think you should turn the ship a little bit this way. Right? I think you should turn it this way. But the business coaching is somebody that's actually like, hey, I know we're turning the ship this way, but do you know that the engine is messed up? Do you know that this is messed up? I can actually hand by hand help you fix these things inside of it, right? So that's one of the biggest things that I notice is people can't distinguish the two. Is, your mentor, you shouldn't really be paying for a mentor, but your coach, you should be paying for a coach. And I think everybody should have a coach. I think that's a Mando. I think that's like to the T. That's a whole nother section, but you should be paying for coaching because you essentially skip the line.
Got you.
The mentors now are different in that role.
I think I've actually, in my head, had them confused in my own just kind of personal experience because I've always found it a little difficult because I've always created in my head like, well, this person who wants to coach or mentor doesn't know my field per se. So that could be a mentor, right? The person really doesn't know the field, but they know business in general. And I was kind of looking for coaching from these people. You know what I mean? And that intrinsically, it just does not work that way because, like I said, they don't know my specific business, so they wouldn't really be able to really help and identify, like you said, like the issue, like the engine is messed up here because they wouldn't really know what that's like in my world, but they know business. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's not necessarily their role. Because my mentor, and I'll mention his name, Brian. I talk about him all the time. He's been mentoring me since I was 16. Just, luck of the draw, had some good people introduce me to him, and he's just been like an uncle to me, for several years. But his line to me, he used to say was, Andre, how easy do you want this to be? Right? If I told you, if you've never been in New York City, he's a real big dude, and he's like 6'6", this real like larger than life personality. So I can't help but like do it in his voice and stuff like that. But he's like, hey, Andre, if I drop you off in New York, you don't have a map, you don't have anything, right? And I say, find Central Park, but you can't speak to anybody, can't do anything other than just wander. How difficult would it be to find Central Park? I was like, pretty difficult. New York City is like a maze and you'll get lost really quickly.
Right.
Then he's like, having a mentor, a high level mentor that knows exactly what they're doing is literally going to the highest building in New York City and looking down at Central Park and then being like, okay, I just got to go downstairs to, the first floor, walk down this avenue and go directly to Central Park.
That was great. That was dope.
And I was like, okay, I never really understood that. But then now when you're downstairs and you're making that walk, it's okay. I got the wrong pair of shoes on. It's a long walk, but I need better shoes. And that's where your business coach comes in and it's like, hey, for these steps, you actually need the X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Right. And they give you the actual tools along the route. So the mentor gives the overall overarching guidance and the coaches actually break down the step by step what you need to do on that route to actually get to where you're going. So that's been one of I guess I want to use the term force multipliers in my life has been, I have a council of mentors, bro.
Gotcha.
Like whenever I have any, and they all know each other, this is a whole nother level. I took the point of introducing all my mentors together.
That's tough.
And being like, hey, you guys are all my mentors.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, like I'm cheating on all you guys. But I do trust all of your guys' opinions.
Right.
So I want, whenever I'm able to make a decision, I would love to come to you guys as a council and hear all of your opinions. And then I'll be able to make a decision going forward on, exactly what needs to be done. And they've all actually, become really good friends. They're all good to go. My mentor, Brian, we go to Army Navy game every year, which is just the military game. Army versus, the Naval Academy, or the best school on earth. So we go every year, and Brian's like, hey, make sure Mike is there. I'm going to have Chris there. And all of my mentors, because Brian is like a uncle / like real deal mentor to me. He wants to enable me to have my mentors around and build relationships, and relationships can only help you get further. They can't be negative. In my view, they just can't be negative. From that standpoint.
Got you. That was actually a great analogy. That took me like, wow, okay. So, you said something earlier. You said mentorship. People should not pay for mentorship. Pay for business coaching, but not mentorship. I see a lot of this all the time. People are kind of selling their quote unquote mentorship, and for some reason that really doesn't stick. Like, just without even talking to you, it didn't stick right with me. When I first saw that, I was just kind of like, you know what I mean? But the coaching, I understand, because it is day to day, things like that. But mentorship, I felt like it was supposed to be, kind of just authentic and a little bit genuine. I only have a handful of mentors in my life. Really, my pops is my first mentor, and that's just like life in general. You know what I'm saying? We are business partners, so that's kind of like life, fatherhood and things like that. I also have another mentor who I met through my pops, as a matter of fact, Steve Canal, who wrote the foreword to my book, and that came just genuine, just me, forging conversation, forging relationships, and he's helped me through like my book publishing process and things like that. But I've also had people try to take on those roles, but they really just did not work out. So that kind of leads me to my next point when it comes to vetting mentors, vetting and coaches as well. I like that we kind of joined those two, because I think they do need to be not combined, but talked about in tandem. So what is some of your kind of, I guess, interview questions that you have in your head when you are talking to a potential mentor or potential coach?
I got you. So I'll start off with coaches, right?
Okay.
A coach can never have made his money from coaching.
I like that.
Right. That
love that. My God. If I had a button, I would, oh man.
That's one of like my red flags, is like the business model can't be coaching. Like, so you got to show me your track record as to what you did to this point. Like my business coach, I have 3 for different levels, right? So as you progress through levels, you need coaches that understand those levels very intimately.
Right.
So the levels that I'm getting ready to coach at is $0 to $1 million.
Gotcha.
I'm not going 1 to 5. I'm not going 5 to 10 million. I'm not going those levels. It is 0 to 1 million.
Right.
Or 0 to 500,000, depending on where you're at in the cycle. That is where I know that cold. I can take a company at any point. I have every bit of track record to show that. I have everything that's necessary to show 0 to $1 million. The issue is outside of that, now you venture into the unknown. When you venture into the unknown, it's unknown to you, but it needs to be known to your coach, right? It needs to be an area that they know very intimately. The issue is I've seen a lot of people just pop up and they made their money by, oh yeah, I'm a business coach. They've read a lot of books and they kind of just regurgitate what the books say. But you can tell
there's an epidemic of that online right now, man.
Yeah,
It
like
is
it's really
running
bad.
rampant. Yes.
And you can tell whether or not they had real pain in the field or real training in the field based on how they approach situations. If they approach it too textbook like, you could tell that they've never really done it. Because for me, right, let's say I'm talking to you, Malc, it's easy to say, oh, have you built a flywheel? But like, I know that in order to build a flywheel, you'd actually have to have been in business for a bit to understand your model a little bit more. And then you'd come back and reanalyze your business based on a new flywheel, based on your original, time period within business. Like that's very different from, hey, where's your flywheel? Right? Because it sounds good, but you haven't tested anything. So you haven't made any money. Like you need to make money in order to test these things out in order to see whether or not they work.
Right.
Right. So it's like just like simple things like that. Like a flywheel is a very common business practice. But when is that introduced? Or like the questions that's asked up front. Like normally it's like, hey, what are your goals? Multiply it by 30. It's like, that doesn't really answer any, like you haven't done any,
right.
you haven't done any research into what I've done currently. All you've told me is to think bigger, but thinking bigger doesn't necessarily answer the question of the day to day. Right. So so understanding those things. So red flag number one is if your coach made their money from coaching. Not a thing. Right. In business, the only way to become a coach is to segue into coaching.
Right.
Right. That's just where it boils down to. Or like if you're building courses and stuff, because courses are considered mentorship as well. Right. If you're building courses, who better to teach the course than the person who has been doing it for the past 5 years.
Right.
Right. So like even I mentioned it to you, I'm getting ready to, launch my YouTube and do these things. And who's the first person I came to is like you.
Right.
Right. Because I visibly watched you run your YouTube channel at a very high successful level for several years consistently. And it's not, 2 or 3 years, 5.
And when y'all didn't believe me that I was going to do it. I was like, yeah, you ain't talking on camera. I was like, all right, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, and then it's like, so that's definitely red flag number one. They need to have been in the field. They need to be able to show tangible proof that they've been in the field, assets, things like that. Which a good coach is going to do that up front. They know that they have to, have that social proof essentially up front. That's why for me, I haven't even launched into it yet. I've been privately coaching for, 3 years because when I do launch, there's going to be a overwhelming level of proof that shows that, hey, this guy has ran several companies. He's done X, Y, and Z. He's clearly knows what he's talking about. He clearly has assets. There's several businesses in his net. Like there's proof that I didn't gain my money from that. So that's something that I would say, is a big deal. And then, lastly, what their schedule is.
Okay.
Right. So that's tough because in order to have a real business coach, I mean, it depends on what you're paying, right?
Gotcha. That's
another thing. It's like if you're only paying, $100 a month, then you can't really expect, but if you're paying, $5,000, $10,000 a month, which is some of the prices as you get up to like the higher levels of coaching, then it's like, okay, what do you expect? Well, I expect like daily coaching. I expect like real deal hands-on. I expect you to be a part of my business. I expect Zoom meetings where I'm showing you my books. Like so a part of it is analyzing what you get in return for that price based on like how much effort and time is going to go into it. What about you? Have you had some, run-ins with coaches and things like that?
So I've not coaches specifically. The only coaching I've really have been experienced with is me purchasing somebody else's course. And one thing I'll be honest, one of the things that kind of gets me to, buy into somebody, get their course or something like that is, this might be messed up, but like how good their free information is. Right. So
no, that's 1,000%.
Right. So this one guy whose course, like I've been in his coaching program, like everything, like the whole 9. And it was because like I just happened to stumble across his YouTube channel and his free information was so on point. I said, imagine what his paid stuff is like. And that's what got me. I was like, yeah, like imagine. And then it's been beneficial. It's been crazy. But for mentorship, one of the things I think a red flag for me is I pay attention, and this might just be the Bronx in me, but I pay attention to how you talk about other people. I pay attention to how if every other person you bring up and every other dispute is always the other person. It's always, yeah, this person was this like that, man, or this person, he's a bum, or like if it's to that point, I just kind of pay attention. Like, the problem might be you, and that's just me instinctually. That's not even business like. That's just me, how I am naturally. So that's one thing. Another thing is I do kind of pay attention to, and I don't think I ever put it into words what you said, to if they make their money doing coaches or they make their money doing, speaking engagements, they make their money just doing webinars and things like that. If they are not actually in the field, then I really can't take them too serious. So
Exactly.
and that goes for, and I'll be honest, that goes for the books I read and the authors as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There needs to be a track record, like from mentorship as well. A person who's in a role, in a position to be a real mentor, is not hurting for mentees. Right? They're not out here like, hey, you should be my mentee. They're not. Like, the mentee mentor role is such a intimate role that they're not just trying to offer that to anyone. Right? Like, I often mention, Brian and myself, like, very intimate relationship, right? Where I respect the life out of that man, right? And he respects me as well. But he's not just out here. I'm probably, in the last 10 years, I'm one of 2 mentees that he has.
Gotcha.
Just like in his mind, he has made up that I'm going to be his mentee along with my other buddy, and we're both close friends. We're going to be his mentees until his dying breath. Like, because he wants to pour all of his energy, time, and effort into us. Now, does he build other relationships? Absolutely, 1000%. But the actual role of like, hey, this kid gets all the benefits of, my life's work is really down to me and like one other person. And we both are like real good friends. We do business together. We work together, and we're both like proud. Like, we wear the banner of Brian Raption. Like, I all day long, I wear the banner. I carry the flag. The dude is phenomenal. He's done a lot for me.
Right.
And that's what I want to be for somebody else in the mentee mentorship role. I only plan to have 1 or 2 of those.
Right.
I don't plan to have 1,000. I'm not doing that. That falls more into the coaching realm of, hey, we got some specifics here. We got some things that I'm going to train you up on. It's kind of like a basketball coach, where their basketball or football, their goal is actually perfect. The head coach is the mentor, and the position coaches are the ones who get you to what you need to do to follow the head coach's guidance.
Yes.
Exactly. So that just came to me on the fly. That was a perfect one.
Let me see if you can hear this.
I'm gonna put that one down.
Yeah, I like that.
So that's definitely something. It's really a red flag if they're begging for you to be their mentee with no prior relationship.
Got you.
Because it's different. I got some young boys I got my eyes on.
Right.
and I'm gonna go. They're gonna be my mentees. But that's a part of legacy as well, right? Because in order to, and it's selfish, but not really selfish at the same time. It's a win-win situation,
right?
Because you get to a certain point where you want your legacy not only to live on in your family, you want it to be carried on across the board,
right?
Who better to do that than a young killer who just fits the mold of what you want? That's absolutely, you couldn't ask for anything better, right? So I think that's another piece is your mentor. You should have to earn the right to be the mentee. You shouldn't just be like, okay, well, I paid him $9.99,
right,
and now I'm his mentee. Like, that doesn't make any sense, because it needs to be an intimate relationship, right? And then the coaching side is like, yeah, you're going to pay the bag for some specifics, for some day-to-days, for some guidance on a day-to-day level and skills level. So that's something that I've kind of noticed. And, one of the things that I'm really trying to push is often people don't fight for mentors like that. That's kind of what's catching me off guard. Have you seen that at all? Like in your day-to-day, obviously we're in different locations. You're in New York. I'm in Jacksonville. Are you noticing individuals are looking for mentors and are actually actively seeking them out?
So again, I started this whole episode off, but I don't think people know how to. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The people I know who have mentors kind of just fell into it, like with these people, like prior relationship. I'm now like I've always known this person to be in this business. I'm now in this business. I ask. You get what I'm saying? And not even for outright mentorship, but just I ask a few questions and it just kind of progresses to that point. As far as somebody asking like, I need you to mentor me and how to do these things. I don't know if people understand like what that process, or like even if they're overthinking that process. I couldn't be overthinking that process.
I got you. I'm gonna make the plug. I'm gonna put some people on game.
Okay.
I gotta sit up for this, right? So I want to make it very clear, right, that every individual who's in a performance role gets to a point where they want to pour outside of themselves. That's just natural, right? Any real performer gets to a point where they just really want to teach from the bottom of their heart. It's just like, I want someone else to experience the joy, the beauty, the execution that I've been able to enjoy. I want somebody else to enjoy that, because a part of performance is to see if you could duplicate it, right? Yeah. That's a part of it, right? And a lot of people miss that. The issue is that I've noticed, and because a lot of people do reach out to me on a consistent basis to ask me to be their mentor. I've had probably in the last 2 years, over 1,000 people ask me like, hey, can you mentor me? And only one kid, well, I won't mention his name for the show, but he's still on board with me and still is my guy to this day. He just doesn't like to, put his name out. So I won't embarrass him, but he was the only one who did it correctly. And I'll plug you guys in on how to do it correctly. Right?
Please. So
all a mentor is looking for is for you to take the initiative to be a servant. Right? Gotcha. A lot of people think that they need to come in and be, oh, well, I need to be the smartest person in the room, or the mentor is not. That's actually not what it is, right? Right? In order to be successful, I think we can all agree, let's just put it on the table, that you have to log hours. I think that's a fair assessment.
Yes,
I think definitely. Anybody that's watching the show is going to be like, okay, in order to be successful, hours have to be logged, right? What's a key indicator of someone willing to log hours? Is someone who's not willing to think about themselves. So if I come into the game and this is to this day, right? If Brian is around me, I grab Brian's lunch. I grab Brian's, his coffee. And he never asked me to do any of this stuff. Like, this is not like him sending to me to the store and like X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, man, like I appreciate you so much that I don't care if it's the smallest thing. I'm going to do something to add value to your life, whether it's grabbing your lunch or doing X. But a lot of people view that as like, oh, I'm not kissing ass, or I'm not like doing X. That's very different. Kissing ass is like, that's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
But when you respect somebody, all you want to do is add value to their environment, even if you don't know how to. And the easiest way to add value is just to do something for them. That's where people miss out on. So my boy hits me up, right? He sends me a 17-page essay. Like it was a long DM. He said, hey, what's going on? I've been researching you for a while. Several people have spoken extremely highly of you. And I'm going to be completely honest, sir. I want to do exactly what you're doing, right? I understand that I'm a far ways off from that. And I understand that I'm in a predicament right now where I cannot offer you much. But I noticed the other day that you were actually typing some things into a Word document and you had put it up on Instagram. I am an English major. I would love to be able to edit those documents for you. Take that off of your plate so that you can focus on doing anything else. And in that time, should you have any time to spare for me, I would greatly appreciate that as I continue on my journey forward, trying to progress to the point that you're at. All I messaged him back was, what's your number? And I gave him a call, and he's been, I still to this day, like he has like 3 businesses now. He's killing it. He's a Marine Corps officer. He's doing really well. Right. And it's like, and it was just like, and you know what's funny? I didn't even have him edit anything for me. But it was just the sheer thought that this dude was willing to log hours for something other than himself in order to accomplish something for himself is the win. Right. So I'll tell people this and it's like, well, I'm not going to kiss ass. I'm going to get it on my own.
Right.
There's no badge. I can tell you this with there is no honor and no badge in getting somewhere on your own. It's only more painful. Right. It's only more difficult. It's only more, and you know how I get, like, cause I'm real logical. I think about these things really in depth, right? If both of us get to $1 million, right? But I get there in a week and you get there in 17 years. It took you 17 years to get to this point.
Yeah, you got it out the mud,
but you lost.
Right.
Getting it out the mud is not a good mentality. I want to make sure I keep on pushing that, right? Getting it out the mud is only okay when you tried and no one helped you, and therefore you had to go do that. Right? That's very different. That's a whole different ball game when nobody believes in you. You get no support, and it's like, you know what? I'm still going to believe in this vision, and I'm going to go ahead and get it done. But if there are people that are willing to help you, that are willing to, do these things for you and put you in a better predicament, then you would only be taking a major L by not asking for help or not allowing those people to provide that help to you.
Makes sense.
So that was just something that tripped me out. I had to really share that because I want people to go seek mentors, man. Is a force multiplier is the term I'm going to use for the show. I use that a lot in my personal life, but having a mentor, and once again, I told you, I talk about Brian Rathjen, but I have several others who are just as impactful to me as Brian that I haven't even mentioned the show that are on a council that help me.
Got you. So let's flip that, right? Have you been in a position where you had a coach / mentor or mentor, right, or rather, that didn't work out? And like, what was the situation behind that? Like, if you can loosely talk about it.
I had one, and he kind of took advantage of the situation.
Gotcha.
Right. So it was very like, I'm very like big on service. Right. I want to keep driving that home, that respecting somebody and doing something for that person because you respect them is okay. Right. Similar situation is like, we always mess around, but every time I see your pops, I address him as OG because he's the OG. Like, I respect this man. So, and if he wanted to, trust, like, I'm a little bit busy. Can you go handle something for me? It's going to get handled because we respect him. Right. So the issue is I was younger. I think I was a sophomore in college, and he was a top of his game, but he just got really just a jerk, for a lack of a better term. It was just like, hey, I need you to come by the house and rake leaves.
Well, was and I'm military?
Like, huh? Yeah, this is while I was in the military. And I was like, all right, like, that's cool, whatever. But then it's like, it became so frequent that I could tell he in his mind was taking advantage of the fact that he had, and I had this one guy too, when I first started out in real estate. I hit him up. He was a Naval Academy graduate. That's another thing too. Before I segue into that, is that you should always be looking through, if you go to college or if you don't go to college, and if you go straight to work, there's always a directory of who's come before you. So what I used to do is you could just reach out to the admissions department and say, hey, can I get a directory of everyone that has gone to the college? And then some of the colleges can get even more specific where they tell you,
Majors.
you know, what they're doing and the jobs and things like that. But then now you can go read, well, if you want to be a doctor, I'm sure your school has produced 3,000 doctors. That's your list now to start. It's like, okay, do I think I'd match with these people? Do they have maybe similar background? Do they have, you know, did they have a similar GPA and overcame an obstacle? Did they play a similar sport as me? You have so much things to connect with. And that's what you start off with, because that's what, you know, my buddy started off with as well. He was like, hey, you know, I'm Naval Academy graduate. I'm trying to be a Marine Corps officer. Not only am I trying to be a Marine Corps officer, I'm trying to be the officer that you are. Like, he was very specific. I could tell he did his research. So I did that, found a Naval Academy graduate who was a Marine Corps officer, who was also an aviation supply officer, who got out the military and started this super successful real estate company. I mean, they're raking it in. So I just hit his line. I'm like, hey man, Naval Academy graduate, Marine, you know, I did X, Y, and Z, and I see what you're doing. I really don't want to be a bother. But I would love to have a conversation with you, see where we can go and see if we can progress this into something more. But I also understand that your time is valuable. So I want to make sure that, you know, I'm providing some level of, you know, advantage back to you. So is there anything that needs to get done that I can do virtually, or anything on the East Coast, because he was on the West Coast, that you may not be able to get done, you know, in a timely manner, that I can, you know, proceed to go get done, just as a show of good faith to let you know that I'm willing. It's going to be an exchange. Right. It's not just one-sided. Right. And he started off cool as well. Like, yeah, man, I got you. He gave me 3 books to read. I read them and came right back. He was like, well, I told you to have them read by Wednesday. You had them read by Wednesday night. So therefore, I don't think you're serious. In order for me to take you serious, you got to pay me now.
Got you.
I was like, bro, if you wanted me to pay you, that's all you have to. Yeah. I'm actually not above paying. My favorite phrase ever is you have to pay to play. Like, I'm always willing to pay, but the way he did it was so sleazy. It just wasn't, he wasn't a stand-up guy to me, where I was like, all right, you wouldn't be my mentor anyway. Got you. Because of that. And I'm okay with paying. I pay thousands of dollars each year for coaching, books, learning, courses, like anything that I feel like can make me better. I'm always willing to make, you know, make a swipe or make a purchase or a transaction. But it just seems sleazy to me.
Mm-hmm. I understand that.
You know, what about you? Have you had some situations not work out?
I definitely have. And it started off the same way. It started off cool, and then it got to the point where I felt like I was being taken advantage of. And it felt like this is just me, and I've spoken to you about this as well. It felt like the person was taking credit for my success when in reality had nothing to do with what I had going on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it was frustrating, and again, it just felt like, how did it feel? It felt like my intelligence was just kind of taken for granted in a matter of speaking. So that didn't work out. You know what I mean? And then, but since I felt like that situation has taught me so much, just to kind of about like the human psychology and just how people naturally just kind of work. You know what I mean? When it comes to a mentee-mentor relationship, like, it's taught me a lot and what to look for. Like you said, those red flags. Like, I know if a person comes to me with the same energy, I know, like, all right, you know, I know where to kind of put this person in regards to my business life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that was really like the only glaring like one that just didn't work out. Yeah,
I got you. One thing that I wanted to let the public know too is that mentors don't always have to be physical, right? Like that's something that's important, is to understand that you can have a virtual mentor. You know, Patrick, Bet, David are both of ours. Both of our virtual are both of our, right, you know, virtual mentors. Grant Cardone, all of these guys are virtual mentors to us. And it's okay to take that on and use their free content. right? Because a lot of these guys too, when you use the free content and then you perform and then you go do your thing, you can reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you reach out to them, when you're already performing and when you're already, a lot of them are just like, hey man, come just be around us.
Right.
So it's really understanding that piece and knowing what that could look like. I even used, I'll even say this. I used one of Patrick Bet-David's tricks to get one of my mentors who was a high profile mover and shaker mentor. That I mean like a high profile mover and shaker mentor.
Right.
I didn't know how to get his attention, but I did have the physical address to his office. Looking up the schedules, I was like, all right, let me guess. I feel like based on the job and role, he has to be there at least twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
But I know because I know how important my assistant is, and my assistant is the gatekeeper. I like similar situation. I addressed it. I found out who his assistant was, and I addressed. So I got a box. Right. I got like this really big box. I went to the store and I bought a pair of shoes. Right. But it's not, you don't even need to go anything fancy, but they do need to be dress shoes though. Mm-hmm. Right. Try to make them look fancy, even if it's not fancy budget. Try to make it look like a really nice shoe. And what I did was I put inside of the box, one shoe inside of the box, and I wrote like a handwritten letter. And you know, he opened it up and his assistant actually opened it up. She read the letter, laughed, and ran over to him and was like, hey, you know, sir, I think you should read this. And he read the letter and I wrote, hey, sir, to be completely honest, this is a shot in the dark. But now that I got one foot in the door, I was hoping to get another one in. And I was like, I hope you understand that this is my sense of humor. But aside from jokes, like, here's my resume. I'm not here for any type of play. And if you give me an opportunity, and he actually gave me a call, and and this is a dude that's about to be a billionaire. That's tough. And when I say like mover and shaker, like mover and absolute shaker, that's has governors and, you know, governors with relationships, you know, a real deal person. And he gave me a call and was just like, you know what? Like, this was funny. I really appreciate it. I'm giving you this call to let you know that you've earned a 1 hour with me. Please be ready for that 1 hour. But the crazy part is, and it goes into due diligence. When that hour came, that dude knew every single thing about me. Like everything, like not like surface level. Like he knew the village. Like I was born in Jamaica. Oh, wow. Where like my family was in Jamaica. I was like, what? How'd you? I barely know the village in Jamaica. Like, but that's how much research he did, because it was what I said earlier. Guys like this aren't hurting for mentees. Right. So when they make decisions like this on, okay, I'm going to bring a young man or a young woman into the fold, I need to make sure that they're the right person. So he had so much research on me, so much everything done. And he was just questioning me on it. So he's like, hey, so the village, how long were you there? And it was crazy because luck of the draw, I didn't even know that he's from that same village.
Got you.
That was crazy. Like, just like how the world works, but he's from that same village. So it was pretty dope on that sense. So really trying to get people to understand that it's not far outside of their reach, and that if you want to skip the line, that's what I'm calling it, skipping the line.
Got you.
If you want to skip the line, you need to go find a mover and shaker mentor. And if you can't find a mover and shaker mentor, if they have videos, start watching their videos. Start by embodying their stuff. Start by becoming the person who they wouldn't even reach out to.
Okay. So that's dope. And I hope everybody like understands it, because I'm going to take that you know, seriously as well, because I feel like where my business is at the moment, I feel like we're like right there, you know what I'm saying? Like right at the tipping point to where, you know, like something amazing is going to happen. I think 2022 is going to be incredible, but that's just, you know, me forecasting. But I will also, I think it's probably my last question. How do you know you've outgrown a coach or a mentor? Like, I think this is different from, you know, it not working out, or you're not really vibing, or you're not getting that mentor or coach, at all. But what if you've gotten them, you've worked with them for a while, but you've just outgrown them? How do you know when you've outgrown them, and how do you go about like kind of severing that connection?
So, and this is what I mean by the type of person you should be shooting for shouldn't be like tier 1.
Got you.
You should be shooting for like a tier 100 individual where it's almost impossible to reach them. But even if you reach that point, the dope part about it on the mentorship side is that if you are with a mover and shaker, they're always going to be able to open doors for you. That's where the real win is. Isn't just the mentorship, right? It's the fact that that person is, I'll do a quick exercise, right? For everybody listening to this.
That was a great answer. Wow.
Right. I want you to, for everybody listening to this, I want you to take out your phone and I want you to just scroll through all your contacts. And if you're 23, 25, 28, 30, think about how many people you've come into contact with in your life. Just scroll through your contacts and you're going to see it's so many people that you don't even remember. Like, when did I even meet X, Y, and Z? When did I meet these people? Right. The common mover and shaker is 55 and up. So now imagine that list that you have multiplied by another 2 or 3 decades. But then the difference is they actually keep contact with all of those people and they're able to make a phone call, right? So like me and you are a perfect example. You're forever, my brother, forever. So now you can make a phone call. So when your son needs something, it's like, hey, call Andre.
Right.
Hey, I need this done on my behalf. But imagine being able to say, I need this done on my behalf to 15,000 people who are also movers and shakers.
Wow. That is a great way to look at it. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why you can't shoot for a tier 1 mentor. You got to really shoot for a tier 100 mentor, because that individual is going to be able to, you want a job at Lockheed Martin? Yeah, bro, I got you. Right? Or you want to start your channel, or you want to do this? Let me just call up my buddies at YouTube and see if we can figure something out, right? Now, from the coaching side now, it's very clear to tell whether or not you're outpacing them if they try to keep you on schedule.
Wow.
I've had several.
You are killing, bro.
I've had several coach, and the reason that I say that is because I believe in coaching. I'm not only trying to coach myself; I'm living every word of it. I have tons of coaches.
Same.
Because it makes sense. It just makes life easier. If I can pay you $5,000 to not have to make $75,000 worth of mistakes, I'm going to do it. Right. So what I noticed with the last one, and he's really good. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to slander. I don't want to sound like I'm slandering, because he's actually really good.
Right. The
issue was actually on my part, right? Is that I learned extremely fast. Like, I mean, ridiculously fast, multiplied by the fact that I'm willing to listen, right? Just like I'm willing to talk, when it's time to listen, I shut up and I listen very intently. I listen to everything that person's saying. I put it into action because I'm spending my own money.
Right.
So I'm not here to, I'm going to get the information to not apply it. No, I'm going to apply it. The issue is that the faster you learn, you outpace their schedule. That's why I don't believe in like term coaching. I don't do that. I plan to do like courses that teach you a specific thing.
Got you.
So that you can go at your own pace. Because the issue is, I'm paying a pretty large amount monthly, to be underneath the coaching, but I'm outpacing their schedule. Like they're like, yeah, the next topic is going to be 4 weeks.
Yeah, that actually,
and I've learned it in 4 hours.
That actually happened to us recently. We paid a little change for some coaching, and my dad was the one who's like getting the coaching, but like you said, we were outpacing everything, you know, the guy was going through. And not to say he's not good. The dude is amazing. He's amazing. But we were just kind of just out. And it was group coaching as well. So the people that were in that, I guess, cohort were just really starting at the beginning of their just, you know, journey. So we weren't at the beginning. We're not at the end, obviously. And we're not even like that big. But we do know what we're doing, to the point where we have sustained a lot of growth. You know what I'm saying? So my pops just didn't feel like, you know, he was really getting anything out of the coaching.
Yeah. So coaching isn't personal, right? The way I want people to approach coaching is I'm coming in with a specific goal. Once that goal is achieved, I move on to the next.
Right.
Right. Because you always want to be in a state of unknown. That's how you really win in business, is progressing so fast that you're always getting to a new point of, wow, I don't really know what to do at this point.
Gotcha.
Next. Who knows what they're doing? Who knows what's going on? Oh, business coach X, Y, and Z. Hey man, I'm in this portion of the unknown. Do you know what you're doing? Yep, absolutely. Do you have some track record? Yep. Okay. What is your monthly? Okay, cool. Let's get to it. Okay, I've gotten what I needed to do. Now I understand the unknown that I was, you know, struggling with. All right, business coach, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for all that you've done for me. Here's a testimonial. Here's a review. Here's how I show that I appreciate the work that you did for me. And I'm on to the next. That's a very different relationship than the mentorship relationship.
Gotcha.
And that's why, you know, that last point that I brought up is why I mentioned that, you know, they're not hurting for mentees, because the mentee is going to get every door open for them. And in order to make sure that those doors keep opening up, that mentee has to really be a performer, because their name is going to get sullied. That's such an important thing. You know, I mentioned this in your book, you know, which was fire, by the way.
Thank you.
But, you know, in the chapter, you know, when you were interviewing me for the chapter, and I mentioned that, you know, I look back on that day that, you know, Brian had helped me out, got me an interview for the Naval Academy. And I thought I was being slick because I didn't want to go to college. And I was just like, all right, cool. Like, Brian's phenomenal. I just want to work for this dude. I'll progress really quick and he'll see that I'll be able to run his company without a heart. Like,
right.
And I tried to get slick in that interview, and I never forget, you know, Brian looking at me like, what'd you just say? Because the interviewer was like, hey, Andre, you know, why should I let you into my school? And I was like, honestly, I don't need your school. Brian almost had a heart attack in the chair, man. He was just like, but like at that point, I didn't understand how disrespectful what that was, because I was still young. I was ignorant. I was immature. I didn't understand that he leveraged his name.
Right.
And every kid that he could help after me.
Right. Wow.
And I almost butchered that. Right. So now I have a huge sense of respect. I don't play around at all. If somebody takes the time out to make an introduction on my behalf, I go all the way with it, man. I'm fully prepared. I'm ready. I'm not missing the opportunity, because their name and the ability to help the next kid after me or the next person that wants help relies on that. So, you know, I kind of wanted to let them know that and leave them off with that.
Dope, man. This is an amazing conversation. I'm not gonna lie. You was throwing them today, man. Like, I really appreciate this talk. And I hope you guys do it as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, don't forget to leave us a review. And we will see you guys next week. This has been The Real Revenue Show. I am Malcolm. This is Andre. Peace.